You are listening to Unsound Logic with Nico and Jeremy, and today we have a bit of a difficult topic to even talk about, at least for me. It's about being an introvert. Today we wonder if being an introvert is wrong or are we somehow inadequate? Because what the media portrays and how our society works, it's not made for introverts.
We're going to be talking about some pretty deep stuff tonight, I think. Something that affects both Nico and I suspect probably a large number of our viewers, if I had to guess. Probably, certainly a lot more people than they probably realize. We're going to talk a little bit tonight about being introverted and what it means and the challenges we've faced, both as Snupsters and as just, well, regular human beings, I guess.
I always thought that I was somehow inadequate or wrong, or I didn't belong in this world, being an introvert. God, it sounds like it's a disease now. Oh, I have the introversy. Introvertism.
Introversy. Wow. Did we just make up a word? I think we did.
Yes. When you say it enough times, it becomes, it sounds like a disease.
Yes.
But the media portrays... you really have to be an extrovert in today's society. I think everything from schools to workplaces, everything works in groups, and you have to be able to talk with people. And there's people who just don't care,
like those of us.
I found a scale from introvert to extrovert, basically a line, and I think we both are at the extreme end. So we're being introverts both because we did the test. And I linked this in the Snupster Discord as well. A lot of people said, oh, I got 50 points. Oh, I got 70 points. And I'm like sitting here, oh, I got 8. So that's 8% out of 100% of how much of an extrovert you are. And I think you got something very peculiar number there.
The test that I took with you, I actually wound up 0%. I got 0 out of 100. I was beginning to wonder if maybe the test was broken, but actually it turns out I just really don't enjoy being around people a lot. So
do you think that reflects, do you think that's correct?
Well, I was, at first I was a bit shocked, but the more I sat there and I thought about it, I was like, well, no, actually I'm pretty comfortable with this. I actually felt like it was a pretty accurate representation. I've always thought that my introvertedness is probably due in part at least to like Asperger's syndrome or something, but I really think that I don't think it necessarily is connected. You know, there's a lot of different things that people don't realize about folks that are introverted. We're not necessarily, like, everybody seems to think that we're like shy or afraid to be around other people. And that's not at all the case. We're very economical with the time that we spend interacting with others. We don't see the need to interact just for the sake of interacting.
Yeah, I like to have valuable discussions. I don't like small talk.
Yes. It drives my wife absolutely nuts because we'll come home from work and she'll spend minutes, maybe, as much as an hour, depending on how busy her day was, just telling me all the different details of the things that she's done during the day. And then she's like, well, how was your day? And I'm like, it was all right.
That is like, that hits home. That is so close to what I experienced as well.
So mad, because she tries to press me for details and I'm just like, I really don't know what else to say. That's the relevant information.
Yeah. The relevant information was it went well or it sucked and that's it.
Pretty much. I mean,
what else is there to tell?
If I'm in a particularly energetic mood, I'll try to remember one or two details to tell her about, but usually it's, that's about the extent of it. It was good, it was bad, or it was all right.
Yeah, I was wondering if you are born with either side, or if that's something that develops over time, because I remember as a kid in kindergarten, I was often reading Donald Duck while the others were playing together. I was just sitting there doing my own thing. I was wondering if that is something that develops over time, or...
I mean, because I remember as a child in like grade school and elementary school that I wanted to be more popular and engage more with the other children, but I was never able to do it. And then at some point that just developed into, well, I really don't care anymore. If they want to be around me, they will. And if they don't, then I really don't have any business interacting with them anyway.
It just seems like they probably think you are shy because you're not doing stuff with them. So they kind of ignore you, and that's an endless cycle.
Yes, very.
But then again, you don't care. And
actually, it wasn't so much. I don't think people necessarily thought that I was shy. I really just think that they thought I was stupid. It's really what it boils down to. It's like,
Well, I remember the teachers pressuring me into go and play with the other kids. Just go there and have some fun. And I'm like, that is not fun. Guys playing with Legos there, and I'm like, this Donald Duck magazine is pretty good.
Yeah, just leave me alone with my magazine. Mine wasn't quite that bad. I had 2 or 3 guys in grade school that I was just really, really good friends with. And that kind of brings up the other thing is people just assume that we don't have a lot of friends, that we don't have any friends. And that's also not true. We tend to develop much closer relationships with fewer people. The ones, if you become, what you may not realize is if you ever become friends with an introverted person, that's an honor. You may not see it that way, but they do. They have chosen to invest their time in you. And that's something that we as introverts definitely don't take lightly. I had 2 guys, I think, that I was just good friends with all throughout grade school, and we were inseparable. We did everything together, but I pretty much shut out everybody else.
The funny thing is I never really got into reading what an introvert is, so I only found out about it a few months ago. And up until that point I felt like I was alone with this mindset, or I'm crazy or stupid or something. But no, it's actually apparently it's a
common
thing.
It's actually very common. I don't know if anyone's ever done a study as to what the population mix is for introverted versus extroverted, or those who fall
ambivert. He's in the
ambivert.
Middle. But they had to make a word for it because apparently there's so many people that fall into that category.
Well, yeah, if you start having behavior specialists and people like that who are going to be talking about this, they have to develop words or they don't sound important.
But if you're listening to this through YouTube, I'll put the test in the description so you can find out your own score.
And link your results in the comments. We'd like to see where our followers are on the scale as well. Are you as introverted as Nico and I are, or are you one of the few, the crowd that can actually go out and be who you want to be amongst the people?
Yeah, I saw a lot of people saying I got 50 points. I'm like, okay.
I really do think that when it comes to introverted people, we're every bit as important as the ones who are extroverted or ambiverted or whatever.
I was reading about the some of the leaders of the world being introverted more.
Oh, yeah?
And they value their own time a lot more.
Absolutely.
Some things that come out of all of this is introverts don't like small talk or having conversations. This is actually something I talked about in my channel a few months ago. And even then, I didn't know it was a trait of an introvert. I was just talking about it.
I didn't either, and I want to chime in on that because for the longest time, I felt pressured to make small talk, and I never really, like you, I didn't really realize what an introvert really was. I'm 38 years old. I should have figured this out a long time ago, but I never really knew what an introvert was, much like you. Really, for me, it's about 2 or 3 years ago. I'd heard the term before that, but really for me, it was just kind of a joke or whatever. I never really took it very seriously. But for the longest time, all the girls that I dated and everything like that were always telling me how little I talked. And I finally dated a girl probably back around 2006 who was the same way. And it felt super weird because now not only was I not talking, the girl I was dating wasn't talking either. And I was like, I'm not so sure how this should be.
The same thing. People tell me I'm frozen or I don't speak, or it's just they ask me what is wrong with you or is everything okay? I'm like, yes, this is who I am. Everything is okay. I don't talk all the time.
Yeah, and that's, people don't understand that, with us not talking, quiet time is really important. Both because we use that time to recharge and energize, and also because we are generally at our happiest when we're left alone with our own thoughts. I can't do any problem solving of any sort around anyone else. I have to be alone, no distractions. If you want me to figure anything out that needs to be figured out, I pretty much have to, sequester myself into the bathroom or whatever,
That actually, that was in my notes. I was gonna talk about that. Whenever I'm visiting someone or if I'm at the party, I'll sometimes just go in the bathroom and not actually do anything there. I'll just sit there for 5 to 10 minutes alone in my own thoughts and just breathe in and breathe out and then come out of the bathroom. And I got my small recharge for like a couple of more hours.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't take long.
Sometimes I create small talk to let others think that I care, but I don't actually listen to what they answer me. So I could be like, how's your work shifts? How you're doing at work? And then they start talking, and at that moment I snap and I don't listen anymore. And then when they're done, it's like, all right, that's cool, because I can still tell from their tone of voice what they said, if it's good or bad. So I can shift my answer to, even though I wasn't listening.
See, I've actually tried that before, and I got called on it. I tried it with my wife.
I'm still okay.
My wife's the kind of woman that, she'll quiz me afterwards. She'll be like, okay, what did I just say? Because she knows I've got a habit of, like, zoning out.
It's not about, like, a small attention span. It's not about that. It's just about valuing conversations in a different way, finding interesting stuff.
Because we don't want people to think that we don't care about them or whatever. We just genuinely... we need time to recollect our own thoughts, so we give them something to distract them while we figure things out for ourselves.
But for me, it has something to do with me not caring. I really don't care about most things that people tell me. Well, if you talk to me about like weather or something, no.
Yes. Yeah, cause it's always problem-solving time for me when I'm alone, and the small talk thing, I don't know, that's probably going to be a never-ending struggle for me.
Yeah.
I think by this point in our lives, I don't think you can really say that I guess you could say that it challenges us, but probably by this point in our lives, we've learned to deal with it to such a degree that it's more like just coping, I guess, than anything else.
But I don't enjoy most discussions people have anyway. So it's like, you want to join us? No.
Not really, yeah.
Like one problem I have with conversations is that I'm often misunderstood. So I try and lay things out as well as I can. So it can in no way be misunderstood, but still people amaze me by replying back like, what did you just say? And I have no clue that I hurt their feelings, so I try and keep to myself a lot near people.
And if it's not that, they get offended by how direct you are.
Yes.
And it's, you're just trying to cut out the middleman and save some time and really just lay it all out, and everyone's like, why you got to be like that?
If they can like start a conversation, I can join in and say some generic things, as long as I don't go too deep into it. Like most people don't have a clue what I'm talking about because their IQ is below 80. There's
a lot of places here in the United States where when you go to pay for something at a cash register, there are a series of follow-up questions. Like they'll want to know, like if I go to Best Buy to buy a piece of electronics or whatever, they'll want to know, do you want this extended warranty plan? Do you want to subscribe to this or whatever? Do you want to be on a mailing list? And I usually just walk up to the counter, lay down the item, give them my debit card and say, I do not want the plan and I am not interested in receiving any email. And they just kind of look at me for a second. And I mean, I'm like, and to me, I'm saving them time because I'm cutting out the middleman of the interaction. And I'm just telling them up front, this is what I want. I'm not interested in anything else. And that's the end of it. But they all...
No, that doesn't work.
No, and it surprises me because I would think most people who work as cashiers really don't care. But it surprises me how many people actually genuinely look hurt when I say stuff like that.
It's because they want the socialization. They want to be heard, and they want to talk to you, and they want you to talk back to them. It's probably extrovert thing.
Same thing at restaurants. There's a popular chain here where they'll always ask you, they try to sell you a dessert item when you get through ordering, because I'll place my order and I order from myself and my wife together and I'll say that's it, and then someone comes back, would you like to blah 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 order this and I'm like, that's it. What part of that's it did you not understand? And my wife gets angry at me. I'll just repeat, that's it. And she's like, you're such a jerk.
Well, it makes them understand in that moment that you are not like everyone else. The other thing that is difficult for introverts is answering the phone. Is this something that you struggle with?
Talking on the phone just plain sucks.
Oh, nice. So we shared that as well.
I mean, back in like the 80s and 90s when texting wasn't available and instant messaging didn't exist, I really didn't think much about it just because there was no other alternative. But by the 2000s, when texting and instant messaging was really hitting its stride, I was like, man, this is great. I don't actually have to talk on the phone anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not about being shy. It's about just, I don't even know what it is. There's just something difficult about it.
Even like my wife and I will continually fight with each other over making phone calls that we have to make, like for a bill or something else, you know.
Yes, exact same thing here.
Or if we order some food, if we call into someone to order some food, we'll be like, "You make the call." No, you make it.
No,
well, I made it last time. It's your turn.
Yeah, it's even worse if they are like Turkish or from another country, and you're
God.
like, I can't tell what he's saying. What do I say now?
Yeah, I quit calling Microsoft support after a certain amount of time just because I got sick of saying, huh? I'm trying to think what the first one of your videos I ever followed was. And all I can remember thinking was you sounded like Arnold Schwarzenegger, which is why we sometimes joke that Nico is the Finnish Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I sometimes, all the time, when people call me, some people in particular, they're like, are you tired? Did I wake you up? And I'm always like, no, this is how I talk in the phone. This is how I sound in the phone. I am not tired. I didn't just wake up. And some people do it all the time. Every time they call me, did I just wake you up? Man, you're tired. No, this is how I sound in the phone. That is weird.
Because we're so very excited to talk on the phone. And that's why the internet has been such a blessing for us. Because, you know, it's not necessarily that we're nerds or we're weird or whatever. Online interaction allows for a type of buffer between thought and speech. You know, when Nico sends me a message, I can look. I mean, obviously, he can tell nowadays when I'm on Messenger whether I've seen the message or not. Nico, I apologize. Sometimes I intentionally don't look at a message just because I know you'll know that I've seen it.
But have you noticed that if you leave the window open, it actually still says seen? So that's my excuse if somebody asks. I just left the window open.
But, you know, it gives us a chance to think about what we want to say, and just makes it easier to converse.
That is why I hate the normal conversations you have with people. You have to make your mind right there and then in 2 seconds and say something back. But online, you can just go take a dump and come back and answer.
Again, going back to that whole thinking in the bathroom thing, it really helps.
So I had an awful experience a few months ago. I had to call UPS because for some reason they tried to deliver me a package 3 times, and none of the times did they call me or ring the doorbell. None.
Do they typically call in Finland before they deliver? Or,
and they at least ring the doorbell.
Oh, they're real jerks in the United States. They'll drop the package and run. You're lucky if you get a door knock.
They don't even leave the package. So I had to call UPS because otherwise the package is going to go back to US or whichever country it was coming from, can't remember. But I had to call them. So I found the Finnish number and I called it, rang 3 times, and finally someone picks up. And the first thing I hear is, "Hej, hur mår du? Hej, jag kille, hur hjälper dig?" And I'm like, shit, this is Swedish. And what am I gonna do right now? Am I gonna answer back in Finnish? Am I gonna answer back in English? What am I gonna do?
What is a Swedish-speaking UPS guy doing in Finland?
That is my fucking question exactly. So I'm thinking about this, like 5 seconds pass, and I can hear the guy going there, hey, hey, hey. He's probably like trying to reach me, and if there's anyone on the line anymore. So I'm still thinking, do I answer this guy, and in what language?
And by how do I be polite
so about this? But I ended up doing what every introvert would do at this situation. I hung up.
You have to say you hung up the phone, didn't you?
Yes, precisely.
That's exactly what I would have done. I'm like, screw this, click.
And I called back. I actually called back in like 5 seconds. I'm like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be the stronger man. I'm gonna call back. And, well, somebody who talked Finnish answered the phone.
Well, thank goodness.
But the funny thing is, I could still...
Hey, what's that Swedish asshole doing there? Get him out of here.
I could still hear the Swedish guy in the background when I was talking with her. So they were in the same room answering to the same Finnish number. And I'm like,
seems really
what
weird.
Is this?
Did he forget where he was, maybe?
I don't. That is horrible. That is phone calls and phones in general. That is my worst opponent.
That's another one I think it's one of the challenges that we face also in the fact that we don't, it comes to situations like that, you hung up the phone because that was the easier way out. We don't often speak up for ourselves in public settings because either trying to work it out through dialogue is just going to be too much work. Exactly. Or we don't think they'll understand. But yeah, it was a simpler solution to just hang up and try again and hope for a different person.
Yeah, maybe he thinks that, okay, the line got fucked up or something, and it's better than me going, well, do you speak English? Well, how about Finnish? Where did I call? Who is this? It's a lot easier to just hang up and try again.
Yeah, it's anytime you have to deal with commercial or retail stuff in person. We have another store chain here, Bath and Body Works. I don't know if they have that in Finland.
I've heard of it. It's not good.
My wife likes it, and girls I've dated in the past all love to go in there, and the smell is enough to make you dizzy because there's so many different perfumes.
Yep.
But there's usually at least 2 or 3 workers in there, and they are all required to interact with you at least once.
Oh, that's bad.
Used to place bets with a friend of mine when we went in there as to how quickly we could get in and out before all the people, challenged us and asked if they could help us or whatever. And inevitably they would all block the door and ask if they could help us before we could get out.
I think it's partly, there's some chains here that they actually get a bonus if they sell something to you. If that particular person gets a bonus.
Yeah. Best Buy is the same way. I think they get commission stuff based on the number of extended warranties they sell and stuff like that.
Yep, I'm just looking. Thank you. Don't bother me again. Bye.
If I could get a T-shirt that says "Don't bother me. If I have a question, I'll come find you," I would wear that.
Every time you go shopping, you put on the shirt.
Yes, I would keep it in the car, in the trunk. So whenever I get ready to walk into a store, just throw it on over my regular clothes.
Man, it's starting to feel like we're pretty special.
Yeah, I'm not feeling any better about myself. But I've actually found it more funny than anything else because my wife gets really annoyed by it, and I don't like annoying her, but it just the way she responds to it, I know others have to feel the same way, and I just think it's kind of funny.
Well, this goes back into crowds and people in general. That makes me uncomfortable. Don't know about you.
I've learned to mask it to a certain degree. It's really more of a time thing. We go grocery shopping together, whatever, and usually by the time we get through at the grocery store, I'm ready to kill somebody. But I'm usually good for a few minutes, and so long as nobody really seriously gets in my way, I'm generally all right. But the more stupidity I witness, the shorter that time gets. They don't even have to be interacting with me. I could see 2 people behaving like total retards, another aisle over or whatever, and it's just, I don't know why, but it grates on my nerves, and I lose just a little bit more faith in humanity, and I'm ready to get the hell out of there.
Well, I just found a pretty good service. It's a godsend. Our grocery shop actually they built up a service where you can buy the stuff online, from cucumbers to fucking shampoo, you can buy it all, and then you just go pick it up. Man, do I feel fucking happy for doing that. It's $5 to do that. It's not much for not dealing with people.
Our grocery chain will do that, but they only do it at certain stores, and it turns out they only do it in the rich neighborhoods. We don't live in the rich neighborhood. In fact, we live in the ghetto. So,
but I really like that service. I don't have to deal with people. I don't have to talk to anyone except that one cashier. That's it. That's enough for me.
That's generally not too bad.
I tell them the number, the order number, and they give me the stuff, and I'm out.
Going back to the whole party thing, you're talking about how hard it is being in crowds and stuff like that. Even anytime I was in college and I was ever asked to go to a party or whatever, and I was in a fraternity, so I spent a fair amount of time going to parties, I always, always, always had an exit strategy, and I was never very far from the door.
So you think up a thing you have to go do and tell everyone I have to leave at this exact hour because I have this thing to do.
Yes,
is that what you're saying?
I would tell them I'm going to go hang out with somebody else, or I've got homework I need to do, or I'm going to get ready for work or whatever. But I would always have something planned ahead of time so that if I needed to bail, if things got too much, I could just go.
That's That's why I ask, because I do the exact same thing.
And it's what sucks is when they press you on the matter and they want to know details, and you're like, no. It's not something you're allowed to ask about. I have to go.
That's what I'm always be wondering. Why do they have to know? What good does it do them? Like, where are you going? With who? What precisely are you doing there? Can I come with you? No, you fucking can't.
I'm just trying to get away from you.
But you don't tell them that.
No. Although there has been, I think, one occasion where I did actually come clean and say, no, I just need to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
And they were, turns out they were surprisingly okay with it, but I suspect that's because they were very drunk.
Often in like parties or get-togethers or whatever, I try to find that one silent room where you can still be there, like, and look that you are still in the party, but you are not in the center of the room with everyone. But usually when I do that, I go to that little corner there and sit down. Some people are just gonna come to me and start talking. I'm like, get out of here.
I think that's probably why we like video games so much, because you could go to a video game gathering and be perfectly comfortable because you know you're not going to be the center of attention.
Yeah, that is really good. That's why I don't like parties that are thrown to me. Luckily, that's not a problem. People just come talk to me all the time. I don't know what the hell. I don't have a magnet on me, so I don't know what's going on.
I think it's your sunny disposition on life. People find the things you say very interesting.
Yeah, and because I don't talk often, they want to get something out of me.
Yes.
And after all of these parties and going to get-togethers and whatever you're doing, visiting family for like, I don't know, 6 hours, and then you come home, you are fucking exhausted for 2 days.
God, yes. I just want to like crawl into my bed and die.
What is that all about?
I don't understand why that consumes so much energy, but it does. You're absolutely right. I mean, my wife and I just got back from visiting my family in Arkansas and engaging in some events with some old friends, and we would just get back to the house at the end of the day and literally just almost drop right where we are. You know, we'd land on the couch and we would pretty much stay there until we went to bed. It was just...
Even if it's like 1 hour or 2 hours spending time with someone else, you come back home, you're done.
Yes.
That's the end of that day.
Much.
Oftentimes it's up to 2 days I can feel dead tired because I have to recharge. Apparently that's the thing that introverts do. They come home and that is how they recharge. And if they stay home, they stay happy. And if they go outside, it's gonna train you again.
My wife gets mad at me because I tell her my happy place, like I could be locked in a room alone in pitch black silence with a nice cold air conditioner or a fan or some kind of white noise. That is my utopia. That is the place that's my sanctuary from life. And she just finds it so incredibly dark and morose, but I'm like, you don't understand how much of a wonderful thing that sounds like to me.
It makes me smile because I'm exactly the same.
Or, I guess if I have to have an outside alternative in the middle of this gigantic field where I can see people coming from miles away and the wind is blowing and it's just, I don't know what the deal is, but it's...
Silence is the best thing.
Which I always thought was weird because my first college degree is in music, and I love performing, and I love music, and I've generally, at any point in my life, at any time in my life, I've always got music going in my head. My life always has a soundtrack.
You know what the thing about that is? I actually know what the thing about is. It's if you're passionate about something... Like, let's say we are passionate about Snupster, we can flip the switch and become extroverts for that time period. For that hour, we can be someone we're actually not. So you enjoying music, it brings the extrovert out of you, and you can use your energy that you had for that occasion.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, and then you're dead tired again after that. Because you've been someone you actually are not.
That's a very good thing. I never thought about that, but you're very right, now that I think about it.
We put on a mask when we go outside, right?
Yes, definitely. Well, I take that back. I put on the mask whenever I see someone coming up to me. If I just have to get out and get in the car and go, I don't really think much about it. But before I stop and go in someplace or I about to talk to somebody, then I have to stop and think about it and like, okay, I have to interact.
On interactions, yes. Yeah. I don't care if I'm just walking up to my car. I don't care how I look.
Yeah, and that's another thing about that people misconstrue about introverts is that we are generally very unresponsive to our environment. We will not appear to be excited or sad just because the occasion calls for it. I mean, if you genuinely feel something, that's one thing, but I can't go to a funeral and instantly be emotional about it if it's not something I didn't really, have deep, hard feelings for. Even some cases where I did, when I went to my grandfather's funeral this past December, I cried really hard for about 5 minutes and then nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. And there's been nothing since. I mean, obviously I've been very sad, but it's just, I don't know, being around others, I didn't want anyone else to see me that way.
That's why I'm thinking about when you grow up, does it have something to do with going introvert or extrovert later on life? Because I lost a lot of my relatives when I was just a little kid, 10 years old, 12 years old. I lost a lot of people I knew. And I did cry on like the first few funerals, but then that was it. On the upcoming funerals, I was like, okay, this is life. This is how it's going to be. And my face was a statue. So maybe I think it's how you grow up.
I don't know if it's like being a product of your environment or if it's something that's just ingrained in you, but I do see what you're saying about, there just comes a certain point in your life where you start to make these decisions and you become self-aware of the fact that you have this position on something. Like when I was in high school and in my early college years, I probably still would have called myself a liberal on a lot of things. But as I got older and after I graduated and got my first degree, I began to get more and more upset with the things that were going on in the world, and it slowly drove me to where I am now, probably about as far right-wing as you can get. I'm very conservative. But I'm beginning to wonder if that doesn't tie in with my being an introvert in a lot of ways.
Well, people also tell you that it's depression. You should get yourself checked.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
It's not.
Well,
I know what depression is, and I do have it on some level, but it has nothing to do with me being an introvert.
Yeah, and I agree, and I'm actually probably going to see somebody about that just to see, how deep this all goes. But yeah, I don't think those are necessarily connected in any way, despite the fact that people try to tell you, oh yeah, you're just depressed about things. Well, no, I'm like you and I were joking earlier about a quote that you had said in one of our videos. I'm a realist. Mm-hmm. I'm a realist about things. And no, I don't take a very optimistic outlook on things, but that's because I would prefer surprised and be happy about it than be surprised and be upset about it. So it's easier for me to take the more pessimistic or realistic approach to things.
Yeah, it's not always about being pessimistic either. It's just saying the truth. And I've had, when we launched the Snupster Discord, I've said some things there that made people leave. And it's just, okay, you can't deal with that, just go.
Yeah. That's one of the things you run into when you open up a means of communication that's more consistent and more two-way than, say, the comments in our videos or whatever. There's a pretty regular group in there that we talk to, and we've developed a kind of relationship with them that you don't get in the video comment sections. So.
Yeah, it's also because they think of us in a certain way when they watch our videos, and then they find out we are not who we are.
Yes.
That just shocked them in some level.
But I think that probably most major YouTube, stars, for lack of a better word, I think most of them, to some degree or another, put on a bit of a mask when they step on. Like guys like Markiplier, I'm sure he's probably not quite that tweaked in his regular everyday life, or PewDiePie, or any of those others. And James Rolfe isn't, because he clearly separates between the game nerd and himself. Mm-hmm. So
he's very calm.
Yes, he's actually a very low-key and very calm kind of guy, whereas obviously his nerd persona is very amped up and very angry.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier, flipping the switch. To be that extrovert for that little period of time. But it's going to train you after that. I used to go to like LAN parties and such when I was younger.
Yeah.
I could do like 2 to 3 days, no problem. But we had another LAN party like 2 years ago. That was, 2 years ago. And I was like, after 8 hours, I'm so done. And I had to leave. I could not do it anymore. Somebody, I can't remember who, but somebody said in Discord when I was talking about this introvert thing there a couple of days ago, somebody said a sentence that really made me think. He said, perhaps you are interested in things most of the people don't appreciate. And I'm like, okay, this has some truth to it. Sounds very good.
Yeah, I mean, well, no, we're big fans of Mega Man, and it could be argued that that's probably one of the hottest things in retro gaming right now is Mega Man, although I'd like to think we had a little bit to do with that over the years. But definitely, I know for me, in terms of like the music that I listen to and things like that, I don't listen to hardly anything mainstream these days. I'm a huge fan of 80s music and stuff like that, but anything that comes out today, I don't listen to any major top 40 artists or anything like that. If there's a lot of new stuff coming out that I do like, and my wife teases me about this a lot, that, if there's anything new that I'm listening to, it's going to be very eclectic and off the wall, and like she doesn't understand how I can like Nightwish and things like that. And I don't know if they're mainstream there in Finland or whatever, but over here it's a very small niche group, and now they're very dedicated people, but you would not be able to walk into a room and say, hey, I like Nightwish, and expect anyone else to raise their hand and say, oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, I can't really say anything about it because it's so big here. So everyone likes it except me. So then there's that. That's the other side of the coin. It's mainstream there. So yeah, you're not into it. I don't listen to music. I listen to NES music.
I love chiptune stuff. And it's a lot of people look at me funny, and I don't understand why that music gets such a bad rep when people can listen to movie soundtracks or listen to a symphony or whatever else, and they're perfectly okay with that, because I think chiptune music is basically the same thing. It
reminds me of that one thing one guy said, how can you watch esports all day long, and how do you enjoy that? And they go back, how can you watch soccer all day? It's the exact same thing.
If it's something you're interested in, you enjoy it.
We're very collective about things we like. There's a certain little category for all the things we like.
And that's when an introvert becomes interested in something, they generally devour everything they can about it. They try to be, they whether they mean to or not, they wind up becoming experts in that sort of stuff.
I want to go back to the other thing we talked about, the statue-like thing we have, where we don't, we're like frozen, we don't seem to care. But in fact, we do in some level.
Yeah.
And it's a lot like we're just keeping emotions to ourselves because we don't want to bother other people with our stuff.
Again, with the whole, how was your day thing, there could be any amount of laughing or crying involved with that. And I could tell her I have a really terrible day, and she'll be like, well, don't you want to talk about it? And I'm like, no, I just, that's my pain, not yours. I don't. And it's like, I'm done with it.
I don't have to talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
Because I have to relive everything. Again,
if I jump on the grenade and soak it up and don't think about it ever again, it goes away. I don't think that's something that people will ever understand about introverts. We don't feel the need to download and share like that, like a lot of people do. And if we do, we tend to seek out other introverts when we do it, because, again, we can express ourselves with a minimal amount of effort, and they understand.
Yeah, I really do feel bad sometimes about the small talk thing, because I don't do it because I'm an asshole. I just do it because that's how I deal with it. I can't listen to somebody talk over a minute and still pay attention to what they're saying. And it's not because I'm an asshole.
We are assholes, but not because we don't listen.
Well, let me ask you this. Do people often approach you for help or advice?
Especially like in store situations or things like that, I will often get asked to help reach things that are out of a smaller person. I'm 6'3", so I can reach things that are up really high. So I'll oftentimes will get asked to reach up high for that. And a lot of people won't really approach me by themselves, but like if I'm ever at home visiting my family and I'm out with my grandmother, she will volunteer me to help people to carry things. So I'm like, what are you doing? Stop it. No, I don't want to help.
Because for some reason, introverts are often those people who other people approach them with their problems. For some reason, there is like a magnet involved.
It's because we're good listeners.
Yes.
We are, in the time that we do not spend talking, we spend observing. And we pick up a lot of little details that I think a lot of ordinary people do not pick up. And as a result, we develop a very detailed outlook on situations, which people like when they come to listen to us. But the thing that people need to remember is we may be good listeners, but every once in a great while, and it's not often, I probably go to Nico when I have to do it. But we too need to download from time to time. So if you have an introvert friend and they're a really good listener, that's awesome that you have that, but don't be afraid to listen to them if they choose to talk to you too. That's another thing. If they choose to be your friend, that means you're a pretty big deal to them. If they choose to talk to you about their problems, that's an even bigger deal. You are really in tight with that person. So definitely do your best to show appreciation for that.
Also has to do with the fact that introverts are living the world inside their own head, whereas the extroverts are looking at the world and socializing in there. So we think about everything we do, and we try to create a story in our head on how we approach things.
That's actually, that's a good way of looking at it. It's like two different sides of the fishbowl. You know, we're on the inside looking out and trying to enjoy not having everything else inside our fishbowl, and the extroverts are on the outside looking in thinking, man, I want to get involved with all that, and they don't always mix very well.
But the thing about that is that I don't see other people, mainly extroverts, understanding what it is to be an introvert. They don't get it. Like, they ask you, okay, what did you do last weekend? And it's easy for me to say nothing, because they would never understand that I actually just did nothing in their eyes.
Yes, so and enjoyed it.
Yes, and enjoyed it, exactly. So I get asked often, what did you do this weekend? I go, nothing. Really?
There's a quote from a movie that you've probably seen, Office Space.
Yep.
Where they ask Peter what he did all weekend, and he says, I did nothing. I did absolutely nothing, and it was everything I thought it could be. He is exactly. Absolutely right. You get a weekend all to yourself. That's why we are so excited about rainy days at home, because we don't have to invent excuses for not being somewhere. And we can just sit there and exist and not have to worry about anything.
I don't understand personally, like, I don't see the other side. I don't see how socializing and being with other people is fun. It is not fun to me. And so it really goes both ways. I don't understand how going out there to bars and drinking and talking is fun. I don't see any fun in that.
I roomed with a guy in college who was like that, and we rented a house together, and he would throw these huge parties, generally once every other week, probably. Ouch. Yeah, probably about twice a month. And he couldn't understand why. You know, I would come in, I would say hi to everybody because I knew most of the people and I was good friends with them. But then I would immediately go to my room and shut my door. And he'd be like, why don't you come out and hang with us? And I'm like, it's just not what I do. It feels stuffy to me. I can't focus on any one thing. I got too many people asking me questions. I'd rather just go sit in my room where it's quiet, play a video game, or read a book, or whatever.
Yeah, I know a couple of people who, I like to say, like, they get out from the fact that people try to reach them at, like, parties or something. Nobody asks them what's up. Nobody goes to them and asks what's wrong with them. They somehow let go of the hook. I don't know what's going on with that.
How do they get so lucky?
I don't know. People come to me and say, what is wrong with you? And then they, somehow, there's something about, I think it's their personality or the way they behave around people, because I can see, just by looking at his face, and he's not enjoying himself. So I'm not gonna approach him. That's probably what they are doing differently, because I still have that mask on when I go to parties, and I try to be that happy-go-lucky person. Oh, I'm so happy to be here. So that's probably why people just come to me and talk.
I can manage that for about 5 minutes. One of my problems is that my face, it betrays no emotion. You can see exactly how I really feel when you look at me.
Yeah, well, I can say for how long. It is not a long time I can do that.
Yeah, but my wife gets really upset with me because it's always like the look of disgust is always evident on my face when we encounter a situation where I see stupidity, and I can't help but stare and judge, and she's like, quit staring.
That's probably also to do with the introvert thing. I don't think that's you being an asshole.
No, it's really not. It's me thinking it's okay for me to express this because no one should be paying attention to me when in fact they actually are. Whatever. Well, let me ask you this: have you ever found yourself in a position? And I picked up on this mostly from reading the Finnish Nightmares blog that you pointed out to me a while back. A lot of those are gold, and there was a particular one where it shows the guy getting on a bus and it says all the seats are quote unquote taken, and you see everybody sitting on the outside of the seat. Do you ever find yourself in a situation where you're creating like artificial barriers just to generate your own personal space where it doesn't exist? Or
well, that's the thing in Finland. Everyone does that, so it's not just introverts or.
So it's a nation
just not
of
me.
introverts. Oh,
yes, it is a nation of introverts. We like our own space. If we don't want somebody sitting next to us, we put something down there like a jacket. They're not gonna lift that off or ask, "Can I sit here?" They're not gonna do that. So you're safe.
Wow, I really should move to Finland.
Because we don't like to talk to each other. No matter how extroverted you are, you're not gonna talk to strangers unless you're like a crazy person or something.
Or I guess if you have to do it, because I know like
yeah,
we'll
if
go
you
to church.
have to do it, that's another thing.
Church is a place that's like terrible for introverts because everybody there wants to interact, wants to talk to you, wants to know how your day is going and things like that. And they want to sit next to you, and we'll get to church. And on the rare occasions that I sit with my wife, I usually sit by myself in the very back. I'll like set my keys and my Bible down like a good 1.5 feet away from me. Like I'm creating an artificial barrier. Like this seat's taken. You can't sit here.
Yeah.
And it's anywhere else. I mean, for the most part it does, unless things get too crowded and you have to give up that space, but usually it works. Or I do my best not to make eye contact. That's the big thing. I usually, because, the eye contact is usually perceived as an invitation to engage in interaction. So
yeah, for sure.
I do my best to either stare at the ground or find some far off point to focus on so that it doesn't look like I'm looking people in the eye.
Look at the phone.
Yes, that's what I mostly do.
Pretend to text something or something else. That works.
Yeah, I'm looking at something very urgent.
Yeah, and I just had another idea. I do have like those rare friends, small group of friends that I do go out with and stuff. And
yes.
If we set up a date, let's go eat something on Saturday or something. But if they cancel, I'm the most happiest person on earth.
Yes.
I'm like, yes.
Yes.
I don't have to do shit.
Not only do you now have more free time on your hands, you also don't have to expel carefully guarded energy. You don't have, it's a mental workout that you can avoid doing. So you get to skip brain day at the gym.
Now I've canceled stuff for no reason. I'm guilty of that. I'm just saying, well, something came up. I can't do this. But it's not that something came up. It's that I need to charge myself.
Yes, that's all it takes. And if you have introverted friends, you should never be surprised at this. I think most people probably come to expect it now. I'm sure behind our backs, our more extroverted friends are like, they're probably going to cancel on us. But yes, I don't know what to say about that. But I just wish you could see it from our angle and just see how wonderful it is being alone.
Yeah, it's oftentimes it's not enough for me to say I'm sorry. I just don't want to spend time with anyone right now. It's immediately seen as depression or in such a way that something is wrong with you. So that's why I make like something else. I make lies. Yeah. That works out far better because then you actually have an agenda.
And but people really take it so personal when you don't want to spend time with them. If they've tried to set something up and you decide you don't want to go, they get really offended. And it's not them. It's a cliche for people to say it, but it's really not them. It's us. And there's no other way to say it.
Yeah, I'm slowly drifting into the mindset of just telling people that I enjoy being with myself and not with others, but it's gone as far as where I have to make fake appointments. So I can just quickly respond to people who ask me if I'd like to grab a coffee or something. I can just tell them, no, I have this and that. On Saturday I have this, on Sunday I have that. So I have a week's amount of lies gathered up. So that's a lot easier.
That reminds me, we have a guy who, at my job, who just quit. And he was my partner for the longest time. And we got along really well. We interacted a lot at work. And around him in a work environment, I was able to be extroverted because, we're focused on our job. It's, it makes it a little bit easier. Well, now that he's quit and moved on to another job, he's friended me on Facebook. He blows up my phone almost nonstop with texts. I don't have the heart to tell him that he's really annoying the shit out of me.
Well, now he listens to this.
He's like, now
you're done.
Yeah, I'm done. But he texted me. I mentioned the other day that my wife and I occasionally enjoy going bowling. And he's like, oh, let me tell you, I can bowl with the best of them, blah, blah, blah. He's like, well, I'll tell you what, me and the missus have a free night on Tuesday night. How would you guys like to go bowling with us? And I'm like, no. I've got all the things to do. I can't come.
Yeah, you just don't want to explain your introvert life to someone who just doesn't get it.
They really don't.
Just make lies. It's easier.
I hate lying to people, but sometimes you just have to.
If you said, I'd like to stay at home doing nothing, are they gonna believe you? No. Well, it's not that you're not doing nothing. You are doing something because you are enjoying it. And
I think that makes introverts the best people, because we can be the happiest with the least, I guess.
Yep.
It doesn't take a lot to make us happy.
As happy as a statue face can be. I'm happy even though I'm not smiling. I can still be happy. I don't smile or cry. I just look at the wall and be, that's fine with me. Time of my life.
I think this is why you and I were able to become such good friends, is because we share this on an almost identical level, and it's easy for one of us to text the other and say, this is the situation I'm dealing with, and you're like, you don't even have to tell me that it bothers you or that it makes you happy, because I'm like, oh yeah, this is bugging the shit out of him, or oh, okay, that's going pretty well.
Coming back to the test, just a couple of answers I could have done differently. I would have probably gotten 0 points as well. I don't know where the 8 came from, honestly. It has 80 questions, so...
all I know is after taking that test and seeing that I got a 0%, which I really thought was strange, I was like, man, I must be one of the most, from an outside looking in perspective, I must be one of the most depressed motherfuckers on the planet. But I wasn't, and I was just like, okay, no, I'm all right with this. I'm happy with this. This seems like an accurate description, and I really wouldn't change it for anything.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I remember holding some courses in school, like Photoshop and stuff like that, and it's no problem. It's because we're not shy. It's not a problem to teach people something or be there and do stuff when 100 people are watching you and watching your every move. It's not difficult, but it's just gonna train you afterwards.
Yeah, you're gonna pay for it later. So it really becomes a question of, is this worth investing my time in, because I'm going to spend X amount of hours afterwards in downtime just recovering from this.
Do you ever look at your calendar, and if you have something set up like a month from now, do you sob about it right now? Are you gonna be like, oh shit, I have to do this in a month?
It depends on the thing, and if it's something I'm really looking forward to, like a concert I want to go to or something, I generally don't fret about that until a couple of days beforehand. But if it's like a meeting I have to go to or a trip that I don't want to take, yeah, the moment I write it down, I start getting upset about it.
Same here. That's why I asked. I have stuff that's coming up in a few months, in a month, and I'm done with it. Because I know I'm gonna be so tired. It's not about the experience that I'm about to have, it's the following days that kill me. Like I said, I often tell people that I don't like people, I don't like interacting with people. I really don't know if that's to do with the introvert thing or something else that I have, so to say, wrong with me or something, but I think it's related somehow. I just don't like interacting with people.
I wonder if possessing a general level of apathy could be another aspect of being introverted.
Yeah, once you get backstabbed a couple of times, that's it.
Yes, it doesn't take much. But I feel like, all the research that I've done, looking at things on being introverted or whatever, and preparing for this, I didn't see anything that links apathy or hatred or dislike with being introverted, and it probably isn't, but I know I possess a lot of both in equal measure. And they make for a pretty volatile combination. It makes it very hard to keep a lid on things sometimes when I see things that upset me in such a bad way, and it's readily evident on my face, and I'm already out in public, draining energy by being in public. It's just makes me a very unpleasant person to be around, I think.
I find that most people I talk to, I think they are clueless somehow. And I keep saying, people are idiots, but it's not really that. It's probably that I think people are idiots. It's I
Well,
don't
I
think
you're
that they
probably
see the bigger
judging them.
picture.
You're judging them collectively. You can be very interested in a person, an individual, and befriend them and get to know them and like them. But collectively, humanity as a whole, people as a whole, are idiots. They are. Oh my God! How are we still the dominant race on this planet?
I don't see how that's possible.
Exactly. And then you meet somebody who you're like, oh, they're pretty cool, and turns out they're actually pretty smart, and you're like, where'd this person come from?
It's because they get it.
Yes.
All of this, like, it seems like I'm kind of a hotshot who thinks, oh, I'm above everyone else. But it's not about that. It's about the fact that we live in our own bubble of, like, perfection. We don't like to burst our bubble and let people in it. It's our bubble, and it's our way of enjoying life. And yet so little amount of people understand this. An extrovert who gets it is a very rare case. I don't think I've ever seen a single one.
Unless they're maybe a behavior specialist of some sort who spends their entire life studying something like that. No, I think most of them are pretty clueless on the matter.
But that's funny. Most of those people, they are introverts.
Yes, they are. That's the other thing, is the people who care the most to research things like that are the ones who do it for a living.
Yeah, I was listening to don't know if you heard of him, Brian Little. It's an old guy who like he researches this stuff, right? This stuff that we are talking about right now, and he says that he's an introvert, and he used to, or he still teaches a class, and he likes to make it very livid and interesting and entertaining, and so the students would care about it. But what he would do is go to the bathroom at some points and be there for 10 minutes and just breathe. See, he escapes the students, and that's because he's an introvert. He tries to recharge at times.
There's probably a few that get it. I mean, if they know anything about him, and introverts can generally pick up on other introverts pretty quickly. It doesn't take a lot. So I'm wondering if there's those in class who read him and have picked up on the pattern that he leaves for, an extended period of time every day or almost every day or whatever. I'm sure he does it on the regular. So, yeah, I would be interested in sitting in on a class like that.
Yeah, for sure.
I think.
It all comes down to introverts closing the door of their homes and going, oh, it's over for now.
Yes. Oh, it's like taking off a really constrictive pair of underwear at the end of the day. And you can just let the sweat all vaporize and let your stuff all hang out, and it just feels great.
It is possible to act out of character. You do it outside. It's possible for us to act extroverted, and this comes into play in a situation where we feel like we need to act this way if there's no other way around it. And
I don't think we would be very successful at Snupster, even though our own brand of comedy and humor tends to lend itself more towards the introverted crowd. I think I don't think we would be very good at interacting with our fan base if we weren't able to be at least a little bit extroverted when it calls for it,
Yeah, I felt really bad when I dialed down the Case Mega Man thing, but everything has its end, and that's just the way it goes. And I feel a lot better doing the evaluation series when I can just be myself.
Yeah, it allows you to focus more what you really want, what you want to do. Although, I will miss most of your Case Mega Man stuff because it is just damn funny, and because maybe that was my avenue towards getting to know you at first. But at the same time, nothing's really changed. People are just now going to get to be able to see more of the real you. The more of the genuine article.
I want to tell you about waiting rooms.
Oh God. Let's hear it. Let's hear the Nico side.
Yeah, you're at the waiting room of a dentist, for example. You're just sitting there reading a magazine or browsing your phone. Then the other customer comes out of the room and they're like, man, that was fun. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, fun? Or like, man, what a weather. Yeah, man, what a weather. Are you seeing the rain outside? Yes, I just was outside 5 minutes ago. And I'm like, don't talk to me. I think in my head, like, don't say anything, don't talk to me. Well, hello there. And I'm like, great. Now they are talking to me and I have to interact. But I try to respond in like a few words. So that's usually a cue for them to leave me alone.
I try that, and it's not There are some people who have a harder time getting the picture than others.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
You get those really clueless individuals who don't pick up on your 2 or 3 word responses and just they feel the need to try to draw more out of you. Or
some of them are really curious. Like some of them will go like, it seems like they're talking to themselves. It's like, oh, it is raining a lot today, and I'm like, do I need to respond to this? Like,
yeah,
is he talking to me?
We get people like that a lot in my job, because we'll go and we'll drop things. We deliver stuff to them, and then we get ready to leave, and they want to make small talk as we're packing up and getting ready to go, and it's just like, okay, I'm ready to go now. And yet they want to keep dragging it out and keep dragging it out, and I'm looking at my watch, trying to make every visual cue that I can. I keep inching a little closer to the door, and
you should point to your watch or your wristwatch, tap it slightly like 3 times.
It's rare that I will speak out about anybody, but so help me God, if you are one of those kind of extroverts, and I'm talking to our listeners, if you are one of those kind of extroverts and I ever meet you, I'm going to punch you in the junk.
Let's close with a quote I found. All I want from life is to be left the fuck alone.
Do you know who said this quote, or was it just a random quote that you found?
This is a YouTube comment, so I don't know who that is.
Well, whoever it is, they're a very profound individual, and I salute you, sir.
That is the most single best YouTube comment I've found.
Yeah, you could sum pretty much everything about us up in that one statement. All I really want was to be left alone.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the first episode of our podcast, and we'll be back.
Yes, leave lots of comments. Let us know what you think, and we'll see you guys next time.